We are presenting The Crossroads, a journey of remembrance and hope in Wilmington, North Carolina. And we begin with a story, with Cudjo Lewis's story. In 1860, Lewis, born Kosula in modern-day Benin, was taken from his home in West Africa and forced into enslavement in Alabama. In 1930, when Zora Neale Hurston interviewed him, Kosula was one of the last known living survivors of the Middle Passage. In Barracoon, Hurston transcribes his experience. At the age of 19, Kosula was taken and held in a stockade before beginning his 70-day journey across the Atlantic Ocean aboard the Clotilda. He was stripped of the country cloth that dressed him and kept naked below deck the entire journey. He was given little food and vinegar-laced water only twice a day. After arriving in Mobile, he decamped the Clotilda at night and stayed in a swamp for several days, before being separated from his tribesmen and beginning a life of enslavement. His is one of almost 13 million stories of those taken from the shores of Western Africa during this time. Doors of no return stand in Senegal, Ghana, and Benin to honor the departed victims of the Middle Passage, but no such site exists on the American coast to honor the lives and experiences of the 307,000 enslaved individuals who arrived there. To begin to rectify this, a site was selected to develop a memorial in Wilmington, North Carolina, one of the most predominant ports of the slave trade in the state. Extending into the Cape Fear River, our site is located at the end of Market Street in downtown Wilmington, along the heavily trafficked Riverwalk. This is a tourist destination missing any physical or spatial acknowledgement of the city's involvement in the slave trade. It is our mission to bring visitors to an intellectual crossroads by highlighting the African and African American experience of the Middle Passage and slavery. We must face these past injustices in order to move toward a future of hope and healing. By dedicating space to the experience of those who arrived on slave ships at Port Wilmington, we can correct a historical narrative that obscures atrocities suffered and downplays contributions made by this community. This memorial will illuminate history to honor a community integral to our nation. To achieve this, the memorial uses elements of compression and release, lightness and darkness, and symbolic plantings, furnishings, and decorative details to spatially take the visitor on the journey from West Africa to the United States, from enslavement to emancipation, and offer space for reflection throughout the memorial. Approaching the memorial, the visitor will walk through planting beds featuring species from West Africa. Many will be familiar to visitors as popular ornamentals and food in the southeastern United States. Several of these species arrived with enslaved people. Corten steel will be used throughout the site because it is a durable material that will still emphasize the passage of time as it patinas. Combined with the perennial plantings, this will lend a living, evolving element to the site. The planting beds subtly direct the visitor to the entrance of the memorial, which is oriented toward the door of no return on Gorée Island off the coast of Dakar, Senegal. Our design represents the next steps of someone who crossed that threshold and physically speaks to the door of no return as a sister memorial. The entrance takes the visitor through a darkening, downgrading hallway. As light diminishes behind them, the visitor will be met with growing light ahead and the sound of the Cape Fear River below. Kosula said when aboard the Clotilda, "The water growl like the thousand beasts in the bush." By utilizing darkness and sound, this space represents the journey to a new world. The hallway leads visitors to a space for contemplation. A light well sits in the middle of a large room, and bars hang from the ceiling. They initially impede the visitor's movement, but gradually grow smaller as the visitor rounds the light well. The light well occupies only 9% of the area of this room. Of those taken from Africa to cross the Middle Passage, approximately only 9% arrived in the United States. The 202 hanging bars represent the years between 1663, when North Carolina was settled as a colony, and 1865, when enslaved people were freed. Rounding the light well brings you to the exit of the memorial. It is another tunnel, but larger than the entrance. As the visitor approaches the exit, perforations accumulate in the facade of the structure, allowing in more light. Meant to represent the journey toward emancipation, the pattern of the perforations will be designed by an African-American artist in North Carolina. Once outside the memorial, the visitor will have the choice to continue straight along a pier extending even farther into the Cape Fear River, or turn left towards a staircase down to the river's edge. The pier allows the visitor a moment to reflect on what it means to bring this history forward, and will offer a space for African Americans in Wilmington to leave a mark on their city by casting objects of their choice in the pier's concrete. Throughout the site, the visitor will encounter 22 planter benches meant to represent the 22 individuals who escaped slavery in Wilmington using the Cape Fear River. While the names of each individual is not known, the two that have been recorded will be engraved on the two benches within the central space that looks down upon the light well. And at high tide, the lowest planters will be partially submerged, their shape resembling boats. The stairs offer a chance for rest, but the visitor can also choose to walk through a bosque of trees aligned with the memorial. At 13 in number, there is one tree for each modern African nation that has recorded victims of the Middle Passage. The name of one country will be engraved in a base plate around each tree. When combined, we hope these elements will honor the lives of those who endured the Middle Passage in slavery while taking visitors on a profound contemplative journey.